How's it going, everybody? And welcome to another episode of the Pursuing Greatness podcast. I'm your host, Gabe Peterson. This is the place where you can learn how to master your health, your wealth, and your love all in one place. So I hope you look forward to another great episode with another great guest. Before we get started, I do want to remind everybody that the best way to support the show is to simply subscribe, like, and share this episode with your friends. Also, if you want to get more involved with the show, check out our website at pursuinggreatnesspodcast.com. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoy. I hope you have your pen and paper ready to take some notes on some great wisdom coming your way. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the other side of the episode. All right. And we are live. Today we have with us Ben Ivey. Ben is CEO and founder of Entrepreneur Lifestyle, an international speaker and mentor. He specializes in helping overwhelmed entrepreneurs live a great lifestyle whilst boosting business success. Ben, thank you very much for hopping on the show today. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. It's a pleasure to chat.
Absolutely, absolutely. To get us started, why don't you tell everybody who you are, what you do, and how you got started down that path in the first place?
Sure. So my name is Ben Ivey, and the main thing that I do is I work with a lot of overwhelmed entrepreneurs who are
AKA
attempting to
pretty
much every business owner.
Keep going, sorry.
Procrastination, the usual sort of things. And I work with them to basically avoid that so they can focus more on the business and also live a great lifestyle in the process. Now, what got me started on this journey was I had a business in Silicon Valley previously. I had an international team. I had everything going for me. And I was focusing on the moolah, right? I wanted to get as much money as possible. I wanted to be successful. And I started to feel myself burning out a little bit. And then I started to see other people who were, multimillionaires in the position that I wanted to be in. But for some reason, I didn't see that they were very happy. And then I got an opportunity to see one of my heroes. And I remember getting into a car, driving as fast as I could. And I remember being late. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be late. I need to see this person. I drive as fast as I can. I finally get to a door. And it's kind of like Hogwarts, right? You know, one of those huge brown doors, right? Literally like a huge door. So I'm using both arms to open it. And I finally go in and I have a conversation with them for 2 hours. It was an amazing conversation. But then the very next day, something strange happened. And that is that my hero committed suicide.
Oh, shit.
And just like that, my entire life shifted, because the truth is that hero was more than just a random person. That person was actually my dad. Oof. And I saw him the day before, and suddenly my entire life shook, whereby I quit my business in Silicon Valley and I started to search about, well, what is it that really matters to us in life, and why do we do what we do? And how is it that we can create these parallel worlds where people can see us as so successful and happy and have an amazing time in life, yet on the other side of things, deep down, we're depressed, we're confused, and we have no idea what's going on. So suddenly I find myself going to all these different types of events, from Tony Robbins to Andy Harrington, like all of these main people from all over the world. And I started to uncover tools and strategies to help other entrepreneurs who were feeling overwhelmed. And one of the things that I specialized in to begin with was suicide. And I started to help different suicidal business owners. And I remember having someone who was a billionaire, lost everything, went to jail, like best friend stole his private jet. And I'm there chatting to him, and he's suicidal. I'm just like thinking, this is crazy. And since then, I've basically built up my business where I was previously flying, obviously not too much now, between China, LA, and the UK, helping entrepreneurs from all walks of life to be able to understand how do you really enjoy that process and that entrepreneurial journey without creating these parallel worlds where we often isolate ourselves and prevent ourselves from moving forward.
Wow. There's obviously a lot in that story. There's a lot that we can take from that story. And I mean, it's very impactful, especially the experience that you had with your father, him being your hero. Yeah. And then having something like that happen. I'm sure, I can only imagine how upside down your world all of a sudden became. And so since then you've been coaching other, specifically entrepreneurs who are overwhelmed, which, I'm an entrepreneur, so I know, I can only imagine if there are other entrepreneurs out there who are not overwhelmed, You guys found the solution to life. So, one thing that really jumped out to me when you were talking, you used the word parallel lives, and that kind of struck a chord, because I understand what that is, and what it kind of means for somebody who's trying to start something themselves, who's trying to grow something. So kind of dive into that a little bit more, that topic, and tell how do you see this playing out in the life of an entrepreneur? And it doesn't even have to apply to entrepreneurs. I'm sure this is the case to many other people out there who kind of see themselves living parallel lives, and how can they overcome that?
Yeah, well, I think especially nowadays with social media, and you look at Instagram, you look at Facebook, things like that. I mean, I don't even know how people are still going on holiday, but you're seeing all those photos, right? And what often happens is that I think that the most important thing to be aware of is something, what I will refer to as an externally linked identity. And what this is where we link who we are to something outside of ourselves. So this could be the amount of followers you have. This could be your business. This could be the value of what you give to others. And what happens is if you rely on something else to provide you with who you think you are, if that's taken away from you, and so often that is with business owners, like the business goes down or suddenly you downsize, suddenly who you think you are has just been deteriorated because it's reliant on something else. And I see that as a massive issue. And the other thing, as part of that, is that as an entrepreneur, the constant optimism is incredibly important, right? Someone asks you how it's going, you're like, yeah, it's going great. Really? So bad. And often you have these parallels, and it's obviously important to be upbeat and to be like that. But what often happens is, if we don't allow ourselves to connect and really have an authentic conversation with other people, what happens is it becomes literally these two parallel worlds where you see someone, they give everything, they think everything is great, and suddenly they go down into depressed procrastination. And what I see is it's these oscillations of really great and then down low, and then really great and then down low. And I think that it's very, very challenging emotionally to be on that roller coaster as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the roller coaster, I've on my other podcast, I always ask, we know that being an entrepreneur is a roller coaster. So how do you guys deal with it? And so I'm going to shoot that same question your way. How do you coach people to kind of level out that roller coaster, to not go so high and so low, and instead just kind of find the middle path?
Yeah, well, I think the most important thing is like you said, about evening out the oscillations, because the truth is challenges are going to come. And when everything's going great, yeah, sure, it's easy to be an entrepreneur who's everything's going well, you're happy. But when you face challenges, like, how do you deal with that? And for this year, as an example, I see a lot of business owners putting a lot of pressure on themselves because they're not where they thought they would be. A lot of businesses aren't. There's some businesses that are, and they've had an amazing year. Like you look at Jeff Bezos with Amazon, right? They're crazy. But for other, perhaps smaller businesses, it's been more challenging. So ultimately, how do we overcome that in a way that works? And one of the things that I tell entrepreneurs to turn to is gratitude, and trade their gratitude instead of expectations. And this is expectations on themselves, on other people, that stop them moving forward. The other things that I say is that it's incredibly important to define and live your entrepreneur lifestyle. What I mean by this is the lifestyle you live whilst you build your business. Because what often happens in those periods of business isn't going well, I see business owners neglect themselves, like they overwork, they neglect their health, they don't do the things that they really need to keep on top. And being able to define and set perhaps some of those business boundaries, I found has been fundamental for myself as well as other business owners to be able to smooth out those oscillations that don't hit us hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that you said that. And for me, what kind of works is, I mean, you were mentioning that you don't link your identity to anything external. And so what has worked for me in the past is first to get solitude, and just to kind of find that gratitude. I can't be grateful if I'm just moving all the time. I don't know. Maybe there's some like trick that I'm not I'm not privy to, but when I'm constantly moving, I find it very difficult to be grateful. And so what I like to do is just to find moments of solitude, and usually longer moments. I'll take a whole day and just kind of not do anything. And in those moments, I'm able to kind of tease out that gratitude that was otherwise hid underneath the constant movement. So I like
Yeah.
that you said that. I thought that's a very good piece of advice. Um, and then also you're talking about defining and living the entrepreneurial lifestyle. And that, I mean, that also I feel like goes into identity. If you think of yourself as being successful, then when you're not successful, you're just going to be, I mean, your world is going to be crumbled. But if you think of yourself just as someone who is a hustler, who's out there, who's making movements, who's getting things done, who's taking action, then really it's the action that's defining you, and it's not the result of the action. And so,
Yeah, most certainly. And I think what's incredibly important is a lot of people define who they are by very much, the results that they get as you mentioned to. I also think it's important to differentiate between a human doing and a human being. And this is a really cool distinction that I make. And when I speak to business owners and they think about, I want to be someone that has a multi-million-dollar company, I want to be able to do that. And I ask them, what do you think you need to be in order to do that, as opposed to do? Because when we come from a place of being, what happens is you don't have to do anything in order to be a certain way. So suddenly, all that value that you used to need from something external, you can get from yourself, that instead allows you to move forward in a very, very different way.
interesting. So you dichotomize between doing and being,
Yeah.
and you try to get people to go from identifying with the doing and rather identify with the being. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. I mean, obviously doing is incredibly important. I'm not saying just to be there and just wait, right? But it's also something to bear in mind. And I think it helps people to move forward quite quickly when they realize there's not a prerequisite that they have to do something in order to be a certain way. Very often I see business owners who feel they have to do a lot of things and then they'll be inspirational. Then they'll be a leader. And I ask them, well, if you were to be a leader now or be inspirational now, what would you be doing that's different from what you're currently doing? And suddenly they're thinking like a very different person that allows them to move forward in a different way.
I like that. I like that. So, I mean, you've had a lot of experience with different entrepreneurs. You've even launched your own business in Silicon Valley, which I'm sure has to have been quite the experience yourself. So you understand how businesses are operating today. How do you see COVID affecting businesses into the future? I mean, right now it's August 17th, 2020, and so we're deep in COVID times. We've had, it has affected how businesses operate. So how do you see that pushing into the future and the effect it'll have on the entrepreneur himself?
Well, I think that entrepreneurs nowadays, if we look at the key lessons from this, I think one of the big things with COVID is if you have all your eggs in one basket, then you can be screwed up by something completely outside of your control. And I think it's a reality check of thinking, do I need to create these different streams of income to allow myself to be more diversified? No. Do you have to go online? Yes. I guess it's figuring out like, how do you actually do what you do in your business? Because I see a lot of business owners who used to fly every week or so. Suddenly they're thinking, I can actually do a lot more now just being at home than I could previously. And I think that this is often like a redefining of what it is to live a great life as an entrepreneur and like how you actually build that. So yes, we've got businesses that are moving online. Yes, there's different things that are occurring now, and a huge transition is going on as everything is moved online and complete career shifts. But ultimately, I think as entrepreneurs, it's thinking that step ahead. Yes, COVID's going on, but ultimately in the future, like, is it that most business meetings are going to be done on Zoom? Like, do I have to now create my network online? Like, I think that this is an opportunity, for example, to be on podcasts like this. Like, I wouldn't be doing this usually. Like, usually I'm in China, I've like organized all my trips, and now I have an opportunity to do something different. And I think it's very important to look at this as opportunistic and allow you to see those opportunities that is there as they present themselves, as opposed to this being something that hinders your business.
Awesome. Yep, I love that perspective. Take it as it comes, and then see the opportunity within the catastrophe.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, we are nearing the end of the episode. We like to keep this around 20 minutes, and so before we end, I always like to have quick questions that I shoot every guest. First one being books. I'm a big bookie, so I like to ask people their favorite books in your topic, and then just general life wisdom. So your topic being business or leadership or anything of that sort.
Sure. I think the book Scaling Up by Verne Harnish, I think it's a fantastic book to understand business at a different level, especially for those starting out and looking to scale. From a different side of things, I I always find it fascinating when people ask me for books because I needed different books at different times. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep.
So, off the top of my head, I think The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle, I think that's fantastic. The Usual, Think and Grow Rich. I mean, I could go on for a lot of different books, but those are the ones that I think come up to begin with.
Awesome. Yeah. You're the first person that said you need books at different times, but that is 100% true. There's been books. I read them now and I'm like, meh, it's okay. But during the time that I actually read it, I was like, damn, this is
Yeah,
like
it's
life
so
changing.
true. And like someone will ask me, Ben, what is the best book that you can recommend to me? And I was like, that's a terrible question because you need a book at different times. I remember reading a book and thinking, this is on another level. And I gave it to my friend and he was like, man, that wasn't for me. And I'm like, are you joking? And I could give it to him like 3 years later. And suddenly he's like, man, this book's amazing. I'm like, where
Yep.
were you 3 years ago, bro?
Yep. I'm the same way. I'm the same way. Although there are some of those books that just, throughout time, I've always gone back to. There's one by Seneca. Man, it's my favorite book and I forget the title. It's by Seneca, but I read it every time. And each time I'm like, damn, this book is good. And I just get
Yeah.
more and more stuff from it. All right, on to the next question. Habits. We know that habits kind of create the foundation of your life. And so I like to ask everybody, if you could pinpoint one habit that you feel produces the most results for you in your life, what would that habit be?
For me, it's a daily power, which is the morning routine that I have, consisting of gratitude, visualization, exercise. Like for me, I think that the morning is like the time to do that. I'm sure people have said that before. So something different that I like to do is thinking time. I think thinking time's amazing. Like I just schedule an hour just to think about one question. Game changing. I love it. It's so fascinating to see the different insights that I get just posing on just a question and diving deep.
Awesome. I love that. Do you have like a thinking chair that you go to? I
Oh,
kind of picture you.
my thinking my thinking chair is next to me. Sit there. I've got my book. I set my timer 45 minutes. I'm just there and until it goes off. And it's a really fascinating way to get different insights in your business and like just posing on a question and diving deep. It's helped me change my business in a multitude of ways because I just get different ideas that I wouldn't have previously.
I like it. I like it. I do kind of the same thing. I need a thinking chair though. That's a really good idea.
You mentioned it.
So if you could give yourself, going back to the Ben who, was just, in Silicon Valley, just starting out, go back to that Ben and give him one piece of advice moving forward, what would that piece of advice be?
Enjoy the journey. I think that so often now, patience is something we don't have. Even I find myself, because with instant gratification, I can get anything almost instantaneously, that the patience to enjoy the journey, I really think that that's an important point then, as is to me now.
Absolutely. I like that one. Enjoy the journey. Awesome. Last question. And this is for everybody listening and watching. If they, I'm sure they loved all the content that you've said so far. I mean, all the message that you've given. And if they wanted to get in contact with you, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Sure. So they can see me on my website. So www.ben-ivey, Ivey, not the plant, doesn't need it, .com. And you can download like my 5 hacks to overwhelm at ben-ivey.com/overwhelm. And then connect with me on social media, the usual kind of things.
Awesome. ben-ivey.com. That's ben-ivey.com. I will also put his LinkedIn URL in the show notes. So if you want to reach out to Ben, click through there and say hi. Awesome. Well, Ben, thank you very much for hopping on again. I appreciated our conversation. For everybody who's here on this episode with us today, thank you guys for showing up. We couldn't do this without you. Again, the best way to support the show is just to subscribe, like, and share this episode with your friends and family. And I hope you guys have a good week and look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Thank you guys for sticking with us on another episode of the Pursuing Greatness podcast. I hope you got a lot of value out of that guest. Again, the best way to support the show is just to subscribe, like, and share with your friends and family. Also, check out pursuinggreatnesspodcast.com if you want to get more information about what we do and what we offer. I hope you guys have a great day and keep living in integrity with yourselves. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode coming shortly.